Spectrovision Radio.
And we're creating a new metaphysics, which I think is just beyond physics. It doesn't mean metaphysics like in philosophy where things are determined and material. This is a new frontier of metaphysics where it's a holistic, holographic view of the universe and bringing a bunch of things together. And yes, we can study the effects in science and the material in science, but we need a bigger holistic field to study the things we can't observe, and what we can only observe is the effects. My little field is called holonic metadynamics, and I'm writing about that. That'll be way in the future. But yeah, I think it's just we're in the field now of conscious technology, which isn't actually technology or metal. Metal technology can support it, but it's more an inner technology that we're remembering and co-creating and discovering, and that is going to be in 1,000 years from now. People are like creating worlds with their minds. Like, not now. I'm not saying that's going to happen now. I'm just saying like we're at the forefront of that, like how to harmonize with plasma and like literally materialize stuff. Yeah.
Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Conscious Observers. We have a super special one today. We are welcoming the plasma girl, the one and only Dana Kippel. Thank you for being here, Dana. How you doing?
I'm so excited. As I said before we got on, I was very blessed to be on this podcast and talk about plasma.
Yeah, and it's an interest of mine too. So whenever you reached out, I was like, heck yeah, because there's nobody that knows more about this subject than you. In fact, you have a big beast of a book that's coming out today called, tell us what it's called, tell us about
Oh,
it.
yes. Sorry, it's kind of a long title. A New Force, Plasma, Consciousness, and the New Human Potential. And it is a 700-page book.
That is wild. I mean, I
Yeah.
wrote a book years ago and it was like 250 pages and I felt so proud of myself when I was
You
done.
should.
But
Yeah.
that is a monster. How long did that take to write?
So this is actually a crazy story. And with you, I would actually say that the shorter it is, the harder it is because, you know, the editing is the hardest part and making it condensed, right? And simplifying
Yeah.
complex things. So I don't know. We'll see if it's an accomplishment. But this did feel like more of like a textbook or a framework. Like it all came to me 5 years ago after I was started transcendental meditation. And I had the idea for 4 years, was kind of toying with things, procrastinating, doing human Dana things. And then finally, unfortunately, to turn it dark, when my dad fell into a coma in December, I was like, I could fall into a coma tomorrow and not finish this book. Like, what the F am I doing? And then I started it and finished it and edited it in 9 months. So it all just flew out of me. It was all up here.
Wow.
And I think my body's like, thank God we've given birth to the plasma, baby. On to,
Plasma baby.
yeah.
Well, 9 months of editing and getting out there, but I'm sure years of like hardcore thinking and research and everything else that goes into writing, you know.
Yes. And I don't know if I feel like you're probably the same way with research because you seem to be very tapped in. But when I research, it's more that it's almost I'm not in control of myself. It's like my multidimensional self takes over and like I just find what I'm meant to find. It's really like I'll get the weirdest thought in my head. Like the other day, I just want to use an example because this is really interesting. I got like the word Romanian in my head, and all of a sudden I found this like Romanian plasma study, and this guy that made this poetry book in the 1920s, and I was able to connect it to plasma. It was just like those kind of things are beautiful when they happen because it's like it's something greater than you. So that's research. That's what I've been doing for 4 years, following that.
That's so important though, because like people think that so much of like downloads and information is just going to bash you over the head like a hammer, but no,
Yeah.
it's usually like these subtle little clues, and it's like a scavenger hunt, and you have to be tapped in, and when you get those clues, you have to pursue it, and that's part of the
Yeah.
fun.
Yes, it's I think of course media and everyone sensationalizes spiritualism, and it's funny because it's actually very natural and very unsexy and very just like everyday. But sometimes it really is cool, and that's when it's like exciting and we post about these like revelations, but they feel normal. And then a few days later, you're like, "Wait, was that a dream?" Because then you realize how surreal it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always like looking back, it makes more sense. You're like, oh, obviously, this is what that nudge, this is what that synchronicity, this is why that person handed me that book. It makes so much sense now, but at the time, you don't know what any of it means. You're just like a detective putting clues together, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
And obviously, like you're focused on plasma, and it's a huge
Mhm.
interest of mine. And I think
Yeah.
there's a reason why this is coming out now.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
seems like there's so much, like with Robert Temple and so much of
Yes.
the work that he's been working on for decades, and then
Yes.
with you, like
Yes.
what I love about you the most is you have this like childlike enthusiasm and curiosity,
Yeah.
and you're like looking at the world, and you're like, whoa, this is amazing, this is amazing. Like let's find out
Hmm.
more. And what
Hmm.
I've noticed with most people is they like scientists, religion, schools, they tell us all the answers, right? They act like they know all the answers. So they're like, hey guys, here's all the answers. You don't need to ask questions. You don't need to be curious. Here's everything you need to know. And then you go
Hmm.
through life and you realize these people don't know what the hell they're talking about. Like they're
No.
guessing. They know some things, but they don't know everything.
And
So,
look at
but
their lives behind closed doors.
exactly. It's scary stuff. So these are the people that we think are like guiding us through life. And now
Hmm.
we're in this period where you don't have to be a scientist. You don't have to be a PhD to put the
No.
pieces together. If
No.
anything, those things actually hurt you because of the
Yeah.
indoctrination. So now we have
Yeah.
people like Dana that are
Yeah.
like leading
And
us into this new frontier. And
mhm.
and I think that one of the biggest frontiers that there is right now is plasma. And your
Yeah.
book is going to be like the textbook for
I
plasma.
hope. I really
Yeah.
hope. I really think it is a new frontier, and I'm, not the most secure person, which we've discussed also, but I really do feel like I and you are tapping into something special, and I think all of humanity is and can, and it connects us. And the most exciting part I think about plasma is that it's not just science. Science is, I don't know, have you heard of the black elephant thing where people are touching the elephant? So
Oh
there's
yeah. Yeah.
a bunch of people touching the elephant. One person touches the arm, one person touches the tail, and they say, "Oh, I know what this is," but they don't realize there's a whole elephant because there's touching. Science is like this with the elephant of plasma, and it's like, we know plasma. And it's like, no, it's a huge elephant. So my point is, I think we're on the frontier of metaphysical plasma, of expanded plasma, and how it's a vehicle for our consciousness. And I think it's a beautiful, exciting frontier that actually literally merges science, spirituality, and human connection, and empowers us to go beyond like being a victim of our life. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess before we get any further, let's hear from you. What do you think? Like if you were to condense it down and explain to a Joe Schmo, what is plasma? How would you say? And I know it's a big topic, and like you said, there's a lot of different
No,
elements to it, but
yeah.
just generally speaking.
Yeah, generally speaking, my definition, and I think what everyone's could be, but it is a very personal thing actually. I would say the overarching definition of plasma is it is a living, multidimensional, sentient, intelligent substance that is the fabric of our reality. And it is the vehicle for our consciousness. It is always in flux, it is always evolving, and it is benevolent and wants to support us, but it also reflects our consciousness. So that's when we get into what are we resonating with? And that means we're seeing what we're going to see. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of like the medium of
Mhm.
reality. It's like the canvas that everything is painted on. I mean, if you want to look at it in a way to where like Robert
Yeah.
Temple says he thinks about 99+%
Yeah.
of the actual universe is non-physical,
Yes.
non-atomic plasma,
Yes.
and that would make it like the clay in essence that
Yeah.
like everything is formed out of. It's just it's not
Mhm.
formed yet. So it's like the
Potential.
unrealized potential, matter. It's not matter yet because
Yeah.
it hasn't been formed into anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how exciting is that? You can look at the universe as this like blank canvas of
Yes.
potential, and the potential is plasma, and it just
Yes.
needs to be formed, turned on. It needs to be organized, cooled down,
Crystallize.
slowed down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how exciting is that? We look at everything from a materialistic standpoint on Earth, and we're like, oh, this is everything. And it's
Mhm.
like, but when you zoom out and look at it this way, you're like, no, like this is less than 1% of everything. And I think that's
Mhm.
very exciting because it means there's so much unrealized and untapped potential out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it even, I would go so far as to say, let's say, and you talked about, did you talk about crystal earlier with me or something crystallized?
Yeah. I'm always
Well,
talking
I'll
about,
say it because I don't want to lose contact. But basically, let's say we're all crystallized plasma, right? Or frozen like the movie, like with the
yeah.
1% matter. I believe that using what I call plasma consciousness synergy, or basically just harmonizing with plasma using your consciousness, we can liquefy this material reality more and, co-create a reality that is beyond our wildest dreams. So I
Huh.
kind of go into the fact that, okay, if it's frozen or crystallized, I think it can be still shaped or like manipulated. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
Mm-hmm.
cool way to think about it. Because if you think about
Mm-hmm.
plasma as like water, and we're in this
Mm-hmm.
like almost like ice region where it's like
Mm-hmm.
you have to, because plasma is like super hot and that's why it's ionized. So when you cool it down and you slow it down, it turns into like, atomic physical form. So what
Mm-hmm.
you're saying is maybe there's a way that we can sort of liquefy it. So it's almost
Yeah.
like if you took clay and you made like a sculpture out of the clay, and then you
Yes.
like melted the clay back down, you can make another sculpture out of it. You can reform it into something new.
Yes, you two ways. I think that's the first way. And then almost like for a visual, if you the question is how do you get this is kind of like a holographic thing, but if this is the ice surface and this is the watery plasma, 99% of potential, how do you go in and manipulate it from underneath, right? So I think there's two ways. There's like from here and then from under here. And there's many ways to do that, which I discuss in my book, but I'm happy to talk about as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that leads into like manifestation and how you
Mhm.
can kind of create something out of nothing. You're not creating something
Totally.
out of nothing. You're creating it out of
Potential.
this like reservoir of
Yeah.
untapped plasma energy that's just ready and waiting to be created into something. So we're never
Yes.
creating something out of nothing. But
No.
what you're saying is we can manipulate our physical world, but we can also
Mhm.
kind of dip behind the scenes into the back end and tap into that vast reservoir of plasma and
Yeah.
create out of that too.
And when you said nothing, I would say I love linguistics. I would say it's no dash thing, which just means it's not a thing. So what is it? It's potential. It's not
Yeah.
matter. So
It's not
nothing
a
isn't a thing.
it's not a thing yet.
Yeah,
It,
it's
it
just
needs it needs us in a way.
it
Like,
needs our consciousness.
yeah. And
Hmm.
that's so fascinating. So like, we talk a lot about being co-creators of reality and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff, and people are often like, well, what does that mean? People
Yeah.
think their lives are like determined, that
Yeah.
it's just you're just kind of acting out a role in a movie. But
Hmm.
then you see miracles happen. You see people manifest stuff. You see people use their thoughts to heal themselves and to hurt themselves and
Hmm.
to create opportunities that weren't there before. And you're like, okay, this world is malleable. This world is editable. And it just makes you realize that, okay, if plasma is this completely programmable, editable substance and it's
Hmm.
been kind of turned into the world that we exist in, well, that
Yeah.
means at some point somebody took it from, no thing to
Hmm.
something. And it
Yes.
doesn't mean it's that something forever. That's just what it is right now.
It.
So I want to hear from you, like
Yeah.
how you said that there's some modalities or some ways to kind of
Mhm.
influence the
Yeah.
matter reality. Like
Yeah.
how would you do that?
Sure. I mean, there's so many ways. I'll say one thing because what you said sparks something, and I think this might all connect to the determinists and to people who are saying, obviously, if time is circular, right, or there's past, present, and future all happening now, then life is deterministic, right? Sure. But it is deterministic based on your current resonance. That's where your future potentials and your past are. They're both here. And I've said this before. So then when you heal yourself, and because you've done healing, every time you heal yourself, you create new emergent realities with every choice. And then your future potentials almost get upgraded. So like it's not deterministic. It's deterministic in each moment, but you can change that with your consciousness. So anyone that feels like just because they can I've had premonitions, I've seen futures, and I've changed them. So to anyone who feels like science proves determinism, it's like actually no, it's a paradox, you silly little people. And don't worry. I'm a silly little person too, but like don't worry. Like life, I promise life is not determined. So
Yeah. No, I
okay.
mean I 100% agree because I think that it has to be determined in the now because things
They
have to be rigid, they have to be solid, they have to make sense and predictable for this whole thing to be, convincing.
work.
But that's like it's like if you're playing a video game, the level you're on is
Mhm.
determined. And that's determined by
Mhm.
your past experiences, your past
Mhm.
decisions, and your current decisions. So the
Mhm.
level you're on is kind of determined, probably 90% determined. But
Yeah.
the next level you're going into hasn't
Mhm.
been determined yet. Like that's
Mhm.
still being rendered and kind of created by your current free will decisions and thinking. So if you don't
Mhm.
like the level you're on right now, you can
Level
change
up.
that. Like the
Yeah.
next level has yet to be created. So you can look at it that way. Like it's both. It is a
Yeah.
free will like
Both.
rendering engine, but it's also deterministic in a sense.
Yes,
You know?
I have a quote. I think I can't even remember my own quote, but it's something like dancing the dance of free will in the bubble of destiny. And it's kind
Hmm.
of like, we can do both. And what you said also, I want to make a comparison with video games. So technically, in a way, right? This is why I think because a lot of people say we're in a simulation. And sure, it definitely feels like that. But I think it's if you were to call it a simulation, I would say it's an organic, flowing, always in flux, evolving simulation,
Hmm.
because let's think of a video game, it's like, or a movie, it's like it is determined because we know you can rewind, fast forward to the end, like that actually is on videotape, or it is in a video game. Like, and let's say our lives aren't that at all. It's like our lives are more, I'm getting ahead of myself. So our lives aren't like that because you can actually go in and change it where you can't change the makeup of a video game if you're outside of it. Does that make sense? Like there's a
Yeah.
disconnect where it doesn't fully make sense. And that's why I feel very confident. Like, yes, it is like a simulation by terms, but it's like a growing, evolving one. So it's also not exactly like a video game. So like I love stressing that because it's important to
Hmm.
me. Yeah.
I agree. And that's why I never say simulation. I
I
have
don't
a
either.
Yeah, I have a theory. I call it the simulator theory, and I say that basically your consciousness
Mhm.
uses this reality the same way a pilot uses a flight simulator to
Oh,
grow and
totally.
evolve and level up its consciousness.
I
So
agree.
yeah, so it's a simulator in the
Yeah,
fact that it's not base level reality. There is
sure.
a greater reality outside of this,
I
but
agree.
it's a training and learning simulator. So free will is paramount. So it's
Yes.
not a simulation in the sense that you're just some NPC in some video game or
And
computer
you need to
program.
escape the
It's
matrix. It's not
Yeah, it's
that
the same way a
actually.
pilot uses a flight simulator. You have full
I
control
love
over
it.
everything, but you have a co-pilot outside of that that you're
Yes.
like if you think about it,
Working with.
the pilot becomes a better pilot by doing the training in the simulator. And he knows at first that it's not real, it's not base level reality.
Mhm.
But if you do it long enough, you lose
You're,
track of that and then you
yeah.
become like immersed in it. But at the
Yes.
same time, there's always this outside version of you that is growing and leveling up because of your
Yes.
experience inside the simulator.
I haven't heard you. I don't think I haven't watched a video where you say that, but that is like a perfect definition. Because when we talk about co-creation, this is something I haven't spoken about a lot. It's a little bit woo-woo, but it is in my book. Is that we're always what are we co-creating with? Plasma is more the clay, and it is intelligent and benevolent. But what's the other hand in that clay besides my one hand? And it's my multidimensional self's one hand. It's my co-pilot. So we're actually molding this clay together, and if you're always connected, but if you're not listening and if you're not tapping in, it's going to be all funky and more deterministic. But when you tap in, that's when you create emergent realities, when you guys are molding it. And that's when life
Hmm.
gets really amazing. And, when I started therapy, I felt like I became that. Whereas before I was like, on autopilot.
Yeah. There's a
Yeah.
quote that I love, and it goes something
Mhm.
along the lines of, if you don't create the life you want, someone else will create the life for you. So
Totally.
if you think about it,
Hmm.
we're always creating. This world is a creative process. So
Hmm.
you either create your life and create
Hmm.
the timeline you want and create the next level of your game, or like the environment, your culture,
Yeah.
the people around you, whatever, these other influences and pressures will create it for you. So you
Hmm.
can go through life just with your head down and just let life happen to you. You totally can.
Hmm.
And
Your
you
choice.
probably won't end up in a very good place. But you
No.
have the ability to actually take the steering wheel and say, you know what? If something's going to create my life, I want it to be me. And of course it's you and your higher self in
Yeah.
conjunction. But
Hmm.
but yeah, I think that we come here to be the free will decision maker.
Yes.
That's why we're here. So you don't
I
want to
love
just
it.
put your head down and go with the flow too much.
No, 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 no. Once again, it's everything is such a paradox, and it's not black and white, and it's nuanced, and it's not just about going with the flow. It's, choice and action, and then going with the flow, or being like, I really want to get on my dream podcast, but now I'm gonna let it go and see what my multidimensional self can work out and who she can talk to up there.
Yeah.
And if it's not the right time, it's not the right time. But of course, my human self is like, no, make it work.
Well, I think it's a teamwork thing. So like you kind of set your course and you kind of give yourself momentum, and then you
Yeah,
can kind of trust and go with the flow because you've pointed the direction that you want to go. So you're not
totally.
just saying, "Oh, go with the flow anywhere that the flow takes me." You're saying, "No, I charted my course and now I
Mhm.
can relax a little bit and
Yeah.
enjoy the ride and go with the flow because I put in the hard work to like move me in a certain direction."
Yes, if you learn to relax, that takes time. I'm still learning. But yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
completely right. Yeah.
Yeah, we all are. Um,
Yeah.
so plasma, I understand, is like such a huge topic, and the more I've learned about it, I mean, you
Mhm.
realize it's everything. I mean, it really
Yeah.
is everything, just in different forms and stuff. But
And people made fun of me for that. They were like, "Oh, so you're like this is like 2 years ago before anyone thought plasma was cool." They were like on TikTok, "So you say plasma is everything, like another theory of everything, stupid girl. Like go to college." And I'm like, no, but it really is.
Oh, the comments. Yeah. Don't read the
Some,
comments.
I haven't read them in like a year. I mean, sometimes I'll heart them now because I'm neutralized to them, but at first, yeah, everyone goes through those growing pains of wanting validation.
Well, it's funny because like so many people get their news from like the mainstream sources, and that makes sense. You know, they're the experts, supposedly. But the experts when it comes to plasma, I think they've completely missed the boat. And there's people
Yes,
like Robert Temple, and Robert Temple's book, A New Science of Heaven. I mean,
yes,
he goes in great detail about the
love it.
importance of plasma, the prevalence
Yes,
of plasma, and I mean,
yes,
you realize it's not just some stuff way out in these nebulas, and it's not just the stuff in neon signs. Like it is
yeah,
it's everything. It's just
yeah,
in different forms. It's kind of like saying like
yeah,
ice and water, you know,
yeah.
are still like the same thing, just in different forms.
Yes.
So the more you real, I mean, even like our sun, the more I've started like really
Mm-hmm.
digging into what the sun is. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it blows my mind. Like Robert Temple was the one to introduce me to the idea that like the sun might not be even like nuclear fission powered. It might actually be like a light bulb
That
that's
is
actually
cooler
powered.
and mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's powered by like these like plasma filaments, and the plasma filaments
Yeah,
create this like energy grid throughout the entire universe. And if you think about it, like a light bulb doesn't have its own internal power source,
yeah.
right? A light
It's
bulb is powered
connected.
by something external.
Yeah,
And it makes sense because the closer you get to the sun, it gets cooler, and that doesn't make any
yeah.
sense if it was
No,
like a nuclear fission bomb inside. So
yeah.
we're starting to like
I
look at
love
everything differently, and obviously mainstream scientists they don't want to admit that everything they've learned and everything they've taught is wrong, so they're going to
it. Yeah,
completely ignore this whole topic. But I
totally.
think it's forcing
Whatever.
its way out into the
It
public.
is. No, this is
Yeah.
the perfect time. Like, I'm not being conspiratorial, but if I was doing this 10 years ago, like, I don't know if I'd have as much of a platform. Like, I think I'd probably be blacklisted because it's national security. And I actually understand that. I'm not like, that's understandable. But now I feel like they're like, even the government and some scientists, like, they're starting to want to share this with people because it's like undeniable. Like, I just feel like this is an amazing time. I'm very optimistic about the future and like these things. I'm not negative. So yeah, I think that it's just this is the perfect time to talk about this stuff. It's not dangerous. No need to be fear-based or worried. And like life is beautiful, and this is going to be like a really fantastic life. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the only thing that's like I think the thing they're afraid of is
Yeah.
admitting that they might be wrong.
It's
And
fear.
they don't
It's
like to
all
do that.
fear. It's
It's
all
ego.
It's all ego. That's what I say in my book. I'm like, listen, like I love a good conspiracy, but I really think when you come down to it, it's just human fear, and it's just like not wanting to, yeah, say you were wrong, or share maybe certain things. Like it's not like this thing against humanity and evil. It's yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's just self-insecurity from these people that they prop themselves up to be these like powerful, influential beings. And if they have to
yeah,
admit to the public that, okay, we don't really know what space is, we don't really
yeah,
know what the sun is, we don't really know what any of this stuff is, then all of a sudden
yeah,
they lose their power and authority. And that's
totally.
something they can't let happen. So they
No.
suppress this stuff. But one thing I was told a few weeks
Yeah.
ago when I was up in Virginia by somebody, I won't mention his name because I don't have
Hmm.
permission to, but he's a very
Yeah.
prominent person, and he's in the woo-woo field, I guess you would say,
Yeah.
and kind of a contactee kind of a person, but super high level. And he said
Mhm.
that like NASA is talking to him
Mhm.
and using him because they have hit a wall essentially in what they can do
I
with
know what you're
their
talking about.
yeah, so with their like understanding of physics and space and propulsion and that kind of stuff, they've hit a wall because they don't truly understand what space is. And so now these like hardcore scientists are like coming to the woo-woo people saying, "Okay, can y'all help us? Because we're out of our field here, you know." So I
You
think
want
that
to
they
know?
have to
Yeah.
at some
Mhm.
point admit
Mhm.
certain limitations that they have at some point.
Yes, yes, and I rather work with them than against them. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, why not all work together to help humanity? And I think that fighting people has never worked. And I also would like to say that this is what I found really funny is I have an email list for my book when it comes out of 5,000 people. Like,
Woo!
like I'm like so cool. I shouldn't have even said that. But the point of it is not that. The point is,
No, that's a
and
big deal.
well, it's exciting for me, but the
Yeah.
analytics of it, guess where most of them live? Like
Huh.
over 50% in Virginia and Washington, D.C. So it's like
Wow.
obviously people of interest in the, but I think at least my intuition, I
That's
won't get
super
too much.
interesting.
I know. I won't get too much into it, but like my intuition tells me, and well, I just kind of feel like I know this, even though I can't prove it. It's like you have to be pure of heart to connect with these, what I would call plasma beings or like fifth dimensional beings. And I'm not talking about like cryptids or grays, like that's all fourth dimensional stuff. But to connect with these things, like it's not like you can't have made any mistakes. I've had a very colored past of addiction and getting in a lot of trouble. I'm talking about like have a pure intention to not want to control plasma and to want to use it to benefit humanity. And there's just some people who are stuck in like wanting to know how we can use it to control, to harness all these words that are very like technological. And it's like if we just have the intentions to harmonize with plasma in the right way, it will reveal itself like the unicorn does in mythology to everyone. So it's just about changing and healing ourselves even within government. And I think once I write about this in my book, once they realize that, I hope it kind of like motivates them to have a different view of all this. Yeah.
hmm
Yeah.
I 100% agree that like our technological development has to be in basically tandem with our conscious development. That
Yeah.
the system that we're in is an intelligent system, and it's not
Hmm.
going to let us get some of these more exotic technologies until we are at that consciousness, tipping point. And right now, we're just not, especially collectively, and especially at like a government level where they want to weaponize everything. So it's almost like that they so desperately want to tap into these exotic technologies, but I don't think that it's like a key and lock type thing. Like they're not going to be able to unlock these technologies until their consciousness is at
Heal.
that level. Yeah.
Yes, and for instance, like I'm not worried about my life because like if God forbid someone was to question me, it's like I would probably have a seizure. It's like these things are weirdly protected. Like I can't explain why, but like there's certain people, for instance, who will interview me or want to, a one-on-one with me. Maybe they work in the government, maybe they don't. I don't really give a F. But I'm happy to share this information because it's benevolent and sometimes I get confused and I like don't know how to say things and I get so insecure and I'm like, why did that meeting not go well? And then I hear a little voice and it's like, just you're not supposed to say certain things. I was like, okay.
It's like they censored you, like
Yeah,
plasma consciousness, like
it
almost
really
like
feels like that. And it's like
yeah,
it's not like a control thing. It's more just like, yeah, like a built-in protective, benevolent, fail-safe thing. I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah.
It's managing our development at
Mm,
if it's conscious and it's ancient and advanced
yeah.
and super intelligent, then
Mhm,
obviously it's far surpassed us. So it knows what
mhm,
level we're on and it knows
mhm,
what level we need to be on. It sees the
mhm,
bigger picture and it's guiding
mhm,
us. It's encouraging us and nurturing
mhm.
us to develop our consciousness. But
Yeah.
it knows it's doing it in like a management kind of a way. It can't let us go too fast either direction. It's like we all have to be on the same page and there's 8 billion people. So it's a lot to manage.
Yes, I will say what I think about that is that I think it's our future selves. I think it's, I call it emergent energy. And it's the same thing with determinism. It's like they're there, but they want us to not put them on a pedestal. They want us to know they're supporting us and like we can rise to meet them and we can do it faster if we all want. But the thing is like, yes, we have to come together. You're very right to say that. Um, and when we do that, there's actually things they're learning from us, like studying our emotions. I kind of compare it to Ocean Ramsey in the Netflix documentary about sharks, where she studies the sharks and they actually respond to her because all she wants to know is more about their emotions and how they communicate. And I would picture them like the humans and us like the sharks in that way. And when you don't approach everything with fear and when you approach things with love and understanding like yeah like magic can happen and that's when once again we can create emergent futures which even they don't know about like they can't even see like things that aren't existing anywhere so that's what's really exciting to me and I hope people collectively grow so we can start making a really cool world.
And I'm so glad you brought in like the future human thing because like I'm big into just trying to figure out reality in general, and that takes me all sorts of different ways. And of
Totally.
course, I go into the whole extraterrestrial UFO phenomenon, and
Yeah.
I'm a I don't know what you want to call it, but I've had
Mhm.
multiple experiences myself, so I'm an
Same.
experiencer or whatever. But
Hmm.
so I know that there's something there. There's a phenomenon there,
Totally.
and I'm
Hmm.
very convinced that there is a time element that some of the beings that we encounter are future versions of ourselves or future branches
Hmm.
of ourselves. And if that's the
Hmm.
case, which I firmly believe, then they're
Hmm.
coming back for a reason, right? Like, and like you said, it's like maybe it's because we can, through us, maybe they can
Hmm.
create future outcomes and potentials and things that didn't exist in their timeline. Like, there's a reason
Hmm.
they're coming back and doing this, and
Hmm.
it's it makes you think, okay, maybe their timeline went a certain direction and they know that they can come back and change some factors or maybe help us level up or help us grow and
Mhm,
develop in certain ways that lead to a different outcome. But it does
mhm,
seem like there is this
mhm,
interaction between future versions of ourselves and ourselves. So think
mhm,
about if like you went back to the caveman days, right?
mhm,
So that caveman's still a human, you're both on Earth. They would look
mhm.
at you like, yeah, I don't know, like an alien or something. They wouldn't know what to make of you, and you would
Higher,
be very limited. Yeah, you would be very limited in what you could do to them
higher.
because of the language barrier, and you couldn't even just first like you couldn't even give them like say an iPhone because they wouldn't have electricity to tap it into or anything. So you would have to like help them develop the infrastructure, develop the understanding, develop the consciousness, develop the language, and do all that
Mhm,
stuff just to get them to the point where you could help them. And I kind of see like that's what's happening in some respects is that we're being guided and nurtured to develop at like an increasing rate so that we can get to a particular level where they can directly interface with us and say, okay, finally now we can have a conversation with you, cavemen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
And
I think I'm like 90% where you're at. I think the interface thing is interesting, you're saying, because I have had that experience where I see beings in front of me and I'm interfacing with them, and I know that it's a real being of consciousness and I'm conscious, but there's plasma in between us, which like they're at least what I'm kind of downloading, I say in my book is like we don't need to know how to speak their language. We just know how to speak our own. We need to know how to speak our own unique internal symbolism language, and we can actually perceive what they're saying, like how they come to you probably in mythological symbols or even words sometimes. Like that's actually the plasma translating them. So I've had that experience, and I'm wondering if you have had any. But as far as like the timeline thing, where I would veer off a little, or like maybe we're saying the same thing just differently because we all have different brains. I think that what everyone says is real, and I think all realities are real. And the way at least I've experienced it is there are all these different timelines that, yes, can change. And of course, there's a new timeline every choice. So there's definitely timelines that definitely went completely wrong and horrible. But when I feel like these beings, and I want to know your opinion, they seem out of that. Like they seem far beyond time. Like I don't know how to explain it, but it's almost like they're just, yeah, supporting us, but like I don't, the reason's a mystery to me. Like so what you're saying could be right. I haven't even explored it. But to me it just feels like it's meant to be a mystery, and like our relationship is mattering more, and the meaning we give things matters more than the answer to that. So I want to know your
yeah.
opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. Especially the pure consciousness beings are completely
Yeah.
different than what I was describing, and you
Yes.
definitely get
Okay.
yeah, you get the impression from them that they are completely outside of space and time,
Yes.
and that their role in all this is kind of like a almost like a principal at a school. Like they're
Okay.
high level, making high level decisions. They're outside of all the day to day, outside of all the curriculum and all that kind of stuff. But they do
Yeah.
step in whenever they need to,
It
to
does
make
feel
sure
like
that
that.
yeah, and it's good that we have those benevolent,
Yeah.
higher intelligent entities
Yeah.
that seem to be pure plasma. I mean,
Yeah.
whenever you deal with these, they take the shape of whatever you kind of project in your own consciousness. So
Hmm.
people say, "Oh, I saw this woman," or "I saw this whatever." They don't really look like that. They're not in biological bodies. Yeah, that's
That's
just
just your
our
own.
overlay. Yeah, they're pure consciousness, and they are these plasma beings. And
Yes.
so like I've had a lot of encounters with orbs,
Yeah, tell me.
light orbs. Yeah, and I actually call them ether dolphins because
Oh, I love that.
yeah,
From on Rose, did you kind of like
yeah.
the
Well, I
dolphin?
mean, so I live at the beach and we go out on paddle boards all the time and we like call in dolphins because dolphins are telepathic and you can literally call them in with your thoughts.
Yeah.
So whenever I go orb watching or sky
Mhm.
watching and we try to call in the orbs, I
Mhm.
use the same kind of telepathic
Totally.
communication that I use with
Mhm.
dolphins. And when the orbs
Yeah.
come, they're like these
Mhm.
glowing plasma orbs and they'll
Yeah.
like swim through the sky. And they
Yes,
don't go in a straight line. They kind of swim just like a dolphin. So I call them ether
yeah,
dolphins.
kind of
But they're
like
obviously plasma beings or plasma
yeah,
balls, whatever you want to call it.
yeah.
Yeah, and Robert Temple actually thinks that they are like little probes that come from like
Yeah.
the
Quarterly.
Kudalewski clouds. Yeah,
Yeah.
the big clouds at the Lagrange points that they
Yeah.
actually send out these kind of like plasma orbs that are sort of like these reconnaissance kind of
Yeah.
observation probes that come down and just kind of keep an eye on things down here.
So he's told me that too, actually, and I love him. He literally is the most foundational person I think in plasma metaphysics. I'm obsessed with his book. I've read it like 5 times, and I'm obsessed with his wife Olivia. I love them. They're like my little parents. I would say where I with the Kordelewski clouds, like the way I see plasmoids, and I think he's right. It is a cosmic superbrain. And they are like, I feel like our grandparents, right? But then like it's weird because my intuition when I've seen these plasmoids, it's like hard to explain. They feel like, and this is just assigning meaning to it, just like we all are. They feel like, and I want to know what you think, because you call it, I love the ether dolphin thing. That's perfect. They feel like our future ancestors, which is just like what an ether dolphin feels like to me. Like it feels like they're from our past. It's almost like, you know how we're in a bioplasma aura? It feels like they're just that bioplasma aura. They don't have our crystallized consciousness, like they're not human, but they're like the beginning of us. And then sometimes these higher beings that are consciousness go into them and come and observe us. So I think that there's
Mm.
two kinds. I think there's like our little ancestors, like, hello, blah, blah, blah. And you know the difference. It's like that feels like a very warm feeling telepathic connection. But then there are ones that are actually conscious where you're like, you have experiences and you're like, and you know, some might be good and some might be not. Because if you're in a traumatized state, you're going to see scary shit. You're going to have really bad experience. I've had both. So that's why I know. And when I healed
Mhm.
my trauma, I stopped having bad experiences. So that's why I'm not saying that as like a toxic positivity girl. Like I literally had, you know, memories of abduction and like seeing horrific shit. And then when I healed my trauma, I saw beautiful shit and it was the same energy underneath, but it wanted me to evolve and heal. I've even seen demonic stuff. Like this is all in my past. And when I go through hard times, I still have scary moments, but it's the plasma reflecting your subconscious. And when you know that, you take your power back because you know how, even though it's 100% real, they're like beings of the unconscious. They're not conscious themselves, but they feel conscious. It doesn't mean you can't get like slapped or burned or like, I'm not saying nothing can hurt you potentially, but like I also do feel like it's like your own consciousness hurting you. So you have to look at your own feelings of self-hate and sabotage. It's like very controversial to say, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's complicated, right?
No, I totally see what you're saying. I mean, I look at plasma as like, so if say you have a
Yeah.
projector, right, a movie projector, and
Yeah.
it's showing a film, right? Those old school ones that just show the light, right? And then so that light's coming out of the projector. Well, that
Hmm.
light doesn't have any form. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't do anything until it hits a canvas, until it hits a
Hmm.
wall. Once it hits
Hmm.
that wall, then it comes to life. Well, the
Hmm.
plasma is like the wall. The plasma is the screen. And
Totally.
so it actually takes that information. So the
Yeah.
information is coming from the projector. It takes that
Yes.
information and brings it to life, right?
Totally.
So
Oh, I love
it's just reflecting back what's hitting it.
it. Yeah.
So like what you're
Yeah.
saying is exactly right. So whatever
Mhm.
we throw at that wall, whatever we throw at the canvas, it's going to reflect back in a way. But it's an
Yes.
intelligent surface. It's a
Yeah.
conscious,
Mhm.
intelligent surface. So it
Yeah.
doesn't just reflect back exactly what you give it. It reflects
Yeah.
back a version, run through its own conscious, filters. So, but it is
Yeah.
this like kind of this feedback system that we're in, and it's this like dynamic living, like you said, the
Mhm.
simulator. I describe it the same way. It's an organic, dynamic simulator.
Yeah.
It's not like a
Yeah.
computer thing or anything, and
Yeah.
it's living, it's breathing, it's conscious,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it essentially feeds back to us what we give to it. So if you're in a dark place, it's going to feed back some dark stuff, and it might even
Yeah.
take it a step further and create some apparitions and create some
Oh,
things
totally.
because it's
Yeah.
yeah, because
Mhm.
it's just a screen projecting back to you what you projected it. And so
Yes.
once you realize that to really fix your outer reality, you have to fix your inner reality because everything is just like a mirror, you know?
See, this is why I know we're tapping into the same thing, and like you're just spitting truth because, yeah, so like the scarier stuff because like I think we have to touch on everything because that's part of the human experience. We can't just see those things don't exist because they literally do. It's more so the fact, and I go into my book that you have control over it, even though it seems like you don't. So like I would call the scarier stuff like informational beings, beings of the unconscious, four-dimensional plasma beings. They're pure information and they're actually to evolve you, but they can
Hmm.
still be really effing scary and like you don't feel like you have control. But the second you realize you do, just like in any horror movie, the monster dissolves. So that's what's so cool about it because I've experienced it. And then I think there's intelligent beings and conscious beings. Sometimes there's overlap there. I don't know everything. So that's me categorizing things. Like, you know, I think we're just all spouting words and none of this can be explained by words and it's a mystery. But I really do feel like, and I think hopefully this will help people that have these scary experiences like I've had, because I feel like we all really need healing and peace, that you do have control over it and you can heal and you won't have those experiences. You will have really cool experiences. And that's when you can start controlling your experience and you could dive your consciousness into other timelines and communicate with them and into this fifth dimensional space and go to different worlds. I mean, I go to a world where I visit this guy that like looks like a floating mushroom and he heals me. Like I travel all over. And once you realize you can do that, and some people can, of course, I'm sure you can, it's a game changer. But if your resonance isn't healed before you go out and travel the realms, you're gonna see weird shit and you have to learn how to neutralize it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, I kind of liken it to like a boss in a video game, right? Like, so
Oh,
yeah, so like, of
mhm.
course, in a video game, you're gonna have bosses because the game would kind of suck if you didn't, you know? And so the
Totally.
bosses are supposed to be kind of gnarly and scary,
Yeah.
but then when you realize that, oh, this boss isn't like you can't play the victim role. You can't be like, oh, this boss wants to kill me. It's like, well, no, he's just doing his job, and your
Yes.
job is to get past the boss.
Oh, I love
So
that.
yeah, so when you look at like adversity and challenges in life that way, it's the plasma canvas reflecting back to you these challenges that you're supposed to overcome. And
Mhm.
once you overcome it, because people tell me all the time, they're like, "Oh, I have the same damn thing that comes up in my life all the time. Same
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 practice.
struggle, same whatever." And it's like, yeah, it's a boss, and you're trying to go around the boss. What you have to do is go through the boss. You have to defeat the boss. And it's going
Yeah.
to keep coming back nastier and nastier until you do. And
You're
it's
so
not like
right.
we live in some terrible place. It's like, no, that's the point of all this, to learn and to grow. And plasma is resilient and it's intelligent and it'll keep coming up with new bosses to teach you this lesson. And
Yeah.
you have to get past the lesson. And once you do that and
You're
you've overcome your bosses, then like you
mhm.
said, you can travel the whole freaking universe and go to the most amazing places and have these amazing experiences because you don't have that fear that's kind of messing with you the whole time. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously we'll always have some sort of a fear because fear of the unknown, fear of
We're
whatever.
always
But
healing.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
not
no one's
perfect.
ever just going to be like done and like, oh, I'm perfect, you know, but like you can get it to a manageable point, you know, where it makes your experiences more positive and fun.
Or positive. Yeah. And then you go into like, looking at past lives and healing that plasma. Like I had a past life where I was killed before I actually published a writing. And this was like from, I don't know, the 17 or 1600s. And before I finished this book, and I think a lot of people have this weird fear that they don't talk about, I was having paranoia that I was going to get like killed. And like, so, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And like, but I know I'm not. This was my mind. This wasn't my intuition. This wasn't like a weird conspiracy premonition. Like, I know I'm fine and safe and I'm in a timeline where I'm safe. But like, because I had that imprint so strong in a few past lives, it could have led to psychosis if I wasn't in therapy. My point is like we all struggle and like we don't realize sometimes it's not even from this life and it feels so irrational why we have some of these issues. And if we were to open up in therapy and have more therapists study these things, I think we could have more beautiful healing that's more multidimensional and multi-timeline. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so, I mean, I wish people could hear, like the whole world could hear what you just said, because like in this materialist mindset that we're in, we think this life is our only life and everything that happens in it is like a byproduct of ourselves or the evil world we're in or something like that. And you don't realize that you're multidimensional, like you said, and that some of your adversities and challenges are actually given to you on purpose by your higher self to teach you
Mhm.
stuff and to challenge you.
Oh,
But other things is like residue from past lives. Like
yeah.
my wife is a past life regressionist. She's a
Oh,
hypno.
I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, so she's certified in QHHT, but she kind of created her own style and
Oh,
method, and it's
oh wow.
incredible. And
Yeah.
yeah, so we know
Ah,
beyond a shadow of a doubt that you have
so
many
lucky.
past lives, and that your
Yeah.
past lives can have a carryover effect on this life. It's like a residue. Like the system tries to make sure that that's all
Karma.
wiped clean. Yeah, but some of it bleeds through, and you can have irrational phobias and fears and trauma from past lives. And you can actually
Mhm.
go to those past lives and try to release and heal it in the past life, which releases and heals it in this life. And
Yeah.
that's all real stuff. It's real. I mean, Dr. Michael Newton was talking about this in the 80s and 90s and
Uh-huh.
wrote many books, had thousands and thousands of clients, proven
Uh-huh.
all this. And it's still
Yeah.
not mainstream knowledge, which
It's
is
so annoying.
frustrating.
It's like how many kids do we have to have remembering past lives? I wrote a whole 2-page letter that I still have that I was this woman called Dorothy Gish, and my sister was Lillian Gish, and we were filming in Mamaroneck, all this stuff. Then I find out I wrote this when I was 8, before you could Google all this stuff in one place. There wasn't, I don't even, Google was like just starting. It was in the early 90s. And then or mid 90s. And then I look at it, I find this when I'm 26, and I look her up, and she's a real person with a sister named Lillian. She filmed in Mamaroneck in 1921 when I wrote, like, these things
But
are, yeah, and there's so many documentaries about, it's just like, open our minds. Like, people are just scared of the unknown, but it's like, what are you actually scared of? Like losing control. So you kind of have to deal with the trauma of losing control. And like, that's really, for me, that's hard to face. It felt like a literal mental breakdown. So, I understand, and I have very much compassion for people not wanting to touch these things, but it's just like, grow up, face it, and let's move on, guys. Like, let's get this going.
yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, it's especially in the scientific world, if they can't touch it and if they can't like put it in a laboratory and poke and
Mhm.
prod it, then it's not real, kind of a thing. So that's
Mhm.
the problem. But it's like we need to get past that. I mean, we can't see Wi-Fi, we can't see love, we can't see all sorts of things, but we know it's there.
We
So
know it's
y-
real.
yeah, we need to get over that. And I think that's we're in an exciting time now where people like you, like you don't have to go to MIT. You don't have to have a PhD. You can become an expert in something just because you're driven and you're called to this
Yeah.
work. And
Yeah.
the stuff you're doing, I think is, I mean, Robert Temple is
Hmm.
amazing, and he like kind of blazed the
Hmm.
trail. I know there was people before him that he
No,
sort
he
of
really blazed it though.
yeah. But he brought it into the mainstream because he has credibility. He
Yeah.
he is a scholar. I mean, he has
Writer.
that. Yeah. But he's not going to resonate with everybody. Some
No.
people, he's kind of dense, and I think he's
Mhm.
funny. I think he's such a cool guy.
He's a child. I love him. He's
Yeah.
like childish.
I love his sense of humor, and his
Yeah.
stories are wild. He tells the craziest stories you'll
Oh,
ever hear
oh, I
of
know.
ever. Like the
I know.
plasma being that came on the airplane with him and kissed him on the head, and these kinds of things.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to believe him because he's so freaking smart and
Yeah.
credible, and he says the most outlandish stuff, and it's
Yeah.
true.
No,
But he's
totally.
he's going to resonate with certain people, and then people like you are going to resonate with the
Other
other
people.
people.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so y'all are both spreading the same message. You're just hitting
Yeah.
two different audiences, and you're blanketing the world. You know what I mean? You're touching all the bases.
I say this on YouTube. It has like no views, but I had this like call plasma manifesto to all us creators because I think it's human sometimes to compare and to get jealous and to also be like, what the F? They said that. I fucking think that. Like they copy me. And it's like, no, that's all your ego. And we're all tapping into the same thing. And like, I think we have to remember that it's not about us and it's not about what we've discovered or know or invent. It's about the amazing people that are in pain that are hearing our message, and like they need all of us because we all have a unique perspective. And like once we can do that and come together, because science is so compartmentalized, and we can like, I think it's like a Whiteheadian process philosophy thing. It's like there's creativeness in the tension, but if we can actually let tension breathe and like be friends and have different opinions, but it's still like the same thing, we can like, that's how we change the world. So yeah, that's important to me to keep remind myself of that when I get insecure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like the whole like there's been all these accounts of people in different parts of the world writing the same book with the same character names or
Totally.
inventing and patenting the same technologies. It's like
Yeah.
the master plasma consciousness, the
Hmm.
intelligence that's kind of
Hmm.
overseeing everything, just
Yeah.
drops in these little seeds. And it
Hmm.
doesn't really care who takes the seeds and grows the plant, you know what I mean? But it just knows if I sprinkle enough seeds, somebody down there is going to
Choose.
take this and run with it. And
Yeah.
that's why you'll see multiple people talking about the same thing spontaneously.
Yeah.
And it kind of seems like, okay, maybe this person is copying me or whatever. And it's like,
Not.
or maybe they just got the same seed and we're all running with it. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And
That's
and
what it
you,
is.
yeah. And right now, it seems like the seeds that they're sprinkling, a lot of them are plasma based
They're
and getting
plasma
this
seeds.
knowledge out there. You know,
Yeah.
so I
No,
think it's
I
super exciting.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And I want to comment one more thing that you said about the new front, like us, this being a very exciting time, a new frontier. Like, I think that this is the new time of metaphysics. It's like science serves a purpose for the material world, but now that we're realizing that like disease starts with emotion and something, in the potential area and the potentia, I think that people like me and you, I don't know if you have a degree, but yeah, I never even went to college, but I am pretty, great with pattern recognition. And, when I was a kid, I was very smart and stuff until I had a lovely addiction and went to rehab instead of college. But I think what's so important about people like us and many other of you guys listening is without degrees, you're not indoctrinated with how things are in science, and we're creating a new metaphysics, which I think is just beyond physics. It doesn't mean metaphysics like in philosophy where things are determined and material. This is a new frontier of metaphysics where it's a holistic holographic view of the universe and bringing a bunch of things together. And yes, we can study the effects in science and the material in science, but we need a bigger holistic field to study the things we can't observe, and what we can only observe is the effects. My little field is called holonic metadynamics, and I'm writing about that. That'll be way in the future. But yeah, I think it's just we're in the field now of conscious technology, which isn't actually technology or metal. Metal technology can support it, but it's more an inner technology that we're remembering and co-creating and discovering, and that is going to be in 1,000 years from now. People are like creating worlds with their minds. Like, not now. I'm not saying that's going to happen now. I'm just saying like we're at the forefront of that, like how to harmonize with plasma and like literally materialize stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's so powerful what you just said, and I'm so glad you just got all that out because it was beautiful.
Thanks.
But you're absolutely right. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, we just went through this like materialistic, almost like this kind of lost 100 years where we completely shut out the spiritual world and the non-physical world, and we just focus on physical. And of course, it got us all these cool gadgets, and I'm talking to you here virtually. And yeah, there's some cool stuff that came out of it, but we didn't need to completely close off the soul. We didn't have to close off the non-physical. We need, so now I think what we're going to do, I look at everything as a pendulum. So we swung the pendulum all the way to the materialistic world, and we're probably going to swing it back. This is just the way things usually work in nature. We'll overcompensate, and we'll swing back to a very, very non-physical, metaphysical type of a mindset. And then over time, we'll kind of even out in the middle, and we'll be able to balance and harmonize both sides.
I agree.
Yeah, but I think it'll be a fun swing because I think the materialistic mindset only got us so far, and we're maxed out there. And now people have lost their connection to nature, lost their connection to source. People feel lost. People feel confused and depressed. And we need to swing back and connect with source, connect with our plasma higher conscious beings. And then we can like kind of bring everything together. Yeah.
I think you're right. And to clarify too, when I say metaphysical, that's why I love that word. I feel metaphysical is the middle between science and spirituality. So when you're talking about the pendulum, I think we are swinging too far into the spiritual. There's so much spiritual bypassing. There's so much about enlightenment. It's like, no, we're embodied. We're human. We're on earth. Technology isn't evil. It's the people using tools that can be in fear or good. And it's more about going inside, yes, swinging the pendulum, connecting with ourselves and spirituality, and centering it and viewing technology as supportive, but not, on a pedestal. And then like, how can we use certain organic technologies like the amber spyglass and the dark materials to, enhance maybe us seeing different dimensions with like goggles. So it's just about thinking differently and like being embodied, not trying to enlighten, but expand in our bodies, like loving the taste of cake and feeling the grass and knowing that humans are what save humans, not spirit. Like human touch is not compared to anything. Like I don't care what anyone says. I've probably been one of the loneliest people in the world, I feel like, in my own mind. And like I don't have many friends, and like I am so connected to the spirit world, and I still sometimes feel so sad because I want human connection. So like I just feel like we can't lose that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we come here for a reason, like if 99.9% of everything is non-physical and our consciousness is non-physical, and when we're not in the physical body, we exist in the non-physical, and we're eternal spiritual beings in the non-physical. The reason we come to the physical is to walk on grass and to eat cake and to be with other people. Like that's why we come here. So we need to embrace that because we don't get long in this life, and say, hey, we're only here for a little bit, man. Let's enjoy this. Like, being human's cool. This earth is cool. Like all this is really cool. So let's enjoy it. So you don't, like I said, you don't want to swing too far and get head in the clouds, spiritual. And you also don't want to be too materialistic and lose that connection. It's all about balance. And I think you do a really good job of harmonizing that. I have to go back to you
Yeah.
just casually mentioned amber spyglass. What
Oh
is
yeah.
that? That sounds
Oh
so
my
cool.
God. Yeah, so I talk about this in my book, A New Force. I'm just so kidding.
What?
So in one of the chapters, I think it's in the end of the mythology chapter, and the end of chapter 4, I go into plasma in Hollywood and how Hollywood movies and books talk about plasma without even knowing they are. I'm pretty sure it's in that section. I can't remember everything I wrote, but I talk about the dark materials, and I think the third book in Philip Pullman's Dark Materials, he also wrote the Book of Dust, literally talking about plasma. You'll enjoy a great wormhole of that if you go down it. Because it's like dusty complex plasma. So the amber spyglass, I believe in the book, is something that I think Mary Malone, one of the, like Mary Magdalene, invents. I might be wrong in who invents it, but someone invents it so they can see into like a different reality.
Mm.
And they're actually what is amber? Hold on, I have to Google amber ancient meaning. Hold on. Uh, amber means electron, the word electron in amber,
What?
and this has to do with the sun. So like there, he was channeling something. And anyway, the amber spyglass, even though yes, it's fiction, there's a lot in fiction that if once we start connecting the dots with plasma, like there's very like solar punk or like optimistic futurism applications for some of these. I don't think we realize that organic technology is everywhere and we haven't even dove into that. Like we've been using steel and all these things, and it's like when we get into what I think is going to be soft technologies and using more organic stuff and crystals and minerals, like we're going to be shocked with like the weird shit that happens.
Yeah. It's like we're making things harder than they have to be. It's like we're trying to create all these things like synthetically and artificially that already
Mhm.
exist in nature instead of just harnessing, and kind of using nature to our advantage. It's like we try to bypass it and like make it harder than it has to be. And I think we're
Yeah.
going to go back to a more holistic way of living and realizing that some of these things that already exist here is all we need. We don't need to
Yeah.
have all these extra things, you know?
No.
So you talked a little bit about like the soft technologies. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, it's just, have you seen the movie either Soul or the movie Elio or
Mhm.
Elio yet?
Yeah, I haven't seen
Kind
Elio, but I've seen Soul.
Oh God, okay, well you have to see Ilio. It's literally like plasma. So there's this little like plasma computer that's like floating and like it's like an intelligent like plasma talking to him, but it's not AI. What I would call it is like a quintessence plasma consciousness synergy machine. And it's basically like I feel like you can what I think you'll be able to do is like program our reality, program this living ether of plasma, not the fourth state of matter plasma. Like I think there will be stuff with that too, like programming cold plasma, which is different than hot plasma, which I'm happy to get into. But programming this fabric of reality with our consciousness, I think in the future we're going to be able to like actually have things materialize that are like conscious and feedback with us,
Hmm.
or intelligent. I don't know if I would say conscious or informational. I haven't gone that far into it, but then like at least for now, when I'm saying in soft technology, is like there's fields in warm dense matter, there's fields in plasma crystals, there's stuff with um there's like ionized practices and solid materials. They're just things that they're doing right now, which you can like program organic materials, or they're getting close to that. That's kind of what I'm talking about. Just like
Yeah.
gelatinous technology that's almost like technology, but not what we think it is right now. And then like there'll be stuff also that's about resonance and vibration that'll help, like if you put it in like a certain geometry around you, it'll help you travel astrally, but there's no technology involved. It's just more resonance stuff. So
Hmm.
anyway, that's what I see in the near future.
That's so fascinating. Yeah, I know that they're already taking like they're creating plasmoids in labs
Hmm.
and they're
Hmm.
like self kind of I don't know, self-forming,
Organized.
self-regulating, like
Hmm.
yeah, they're self-organized and they're showing
Hmm.
intelligence and they're showing sentience and it
Hmm.
would be a leap to say that's absolutely conscious, but I mean they're showing signs of what like conscious entities would do. And this is at
Yeah.
like a very rudimentary level.
Hmm.
And it's super interesting. So like back in like early 1900s, there was a big phenomenon with ectoplasma where like people would do
Hmm.
seances. Yeah. And they would literally, and I mean, there were some very prominent people that went to these seances, especially over in
Hmm.
England, and were
Yeah.
like trying to debunk it. They were like, okay, obviously
Yeah.
this is all bullshit. So we're going to go there and we're going to prove these people wrong. And
Hmm.
they left completely mind blown and life changed because these people would like literally manifest like say a hand and a
Yeah.
hand would just form out of ectoplasm and like would
Yes.
kind of like in Adam's family where they had
Yes.
the
Yes.
thing
The
and
thing.
the hand, like they even described, like it would like touch them and it would feel like a real hand. They would shake the hand and all these things. And
Mhm.
there's pictures of it. The pictures aren't great because this is early 1900s and it's in a dark room. But anyways, like they were really playing around with manifesting, basically forming ectoplasm and turning it into things. And actually, what they did is they used it as like a way to embody disembodied spirits. So say
Yeah.
you're communicating with a past loved one, you could actually have them like use this ectoplasma hand to like comfort you or to you could feel
Yeah.
them kind of a thing, which is
Yeah.
a bit creepy, but it just
Yeah.
goes to show that like so that's a whole thing that we were playing around with
Exactly.
over 100 years ago that kind of just went away. Imagine if we could use a form of technology to tap into that.
I think we can. I think it's also used in some, magic circles and clubs and societies. And, I think it's all about just like focus and attention and consistency. And, you'd be amazed with some of the things you can create and see. Just make sure you're, resonating and intentions. And I would tell anyone to heal and get in touch with their body for a few years before, getting involved with that stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in no way advocating for us like trying to do any of these things, but to me it
No, I
just
mean, they're cool.
yeah, it's cool and it
Hmm.
kind of shows what's possible and I think that for some people, especially when it comes to like major, organizations, corporations, governments, that kind of stuff, which we probably don't want them involved anyways, but if we ever want this stuff to really break out and to see what we can really do, they're going to want
Hmm.
some way to productize certain things. They're going to be like, okay, how can I, if I'm going to spend all
Hmm.
my money in research and development and do
Yeah.
anything with it, what good does it do us? So at a certain point, they're going to have to be able to create some sort of a product or something out of it if they're ever going to get into this
Oh,
field.
they're working
Um,
on it.
yeah, I imagine. Um,
I
what do
just,
you think they're doing?
the only thing I'll speak on, and I'll tell you the exact thing so people can look this up. You can look it up too. I can actually message it to you just so you see what I'm seeing. There's just a little fun little blurb. Hold on. Do I have your number or no? Damn it. Hold on. I'm just gonna tell you it and then you can look it up. Hold on, I have it pulled up because I made a TikTok about it that I'm posting. Okay, it's called Metrology from the Point of View of Psychotronics. It is a CIA document from July 8th, 2000. And basically, they don't talk too much about it, but they basically go into how they think that poltergeists with children are actually made of inorganic cold plasma, and that we have a
Hmm.
cold plasma around us that is organic, which is human, and then there's anything outside of us is inorganic. And this other plasma, they say this in fucking like this is probably from like 1977, I think. And they talk about how kids have poltergeists or people have poltergeists in times of trauma, which creates a psychotronic effect, which psychotronics was just the study of consciousness and energy or matter, which is plasma in all different states. And they talk about on some other ones that consciousness may or may not affect this cold plasma or bioplasma. And the study of cold plasma went underground in the government. Once again, I think it was for national security. I'm not saying it was a conspiracy, but it's time. Like, we know it's not dangerous, and people are starting to use it to heal cancer in Israel. A company called CAPS. But yeah, anyway, there's stuff from what is that, like 75 years ago, about cold plasma and spirits and psychotronic research. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're working on stuff.
Metrology. What a cool word.
Oh, so metrology was basically the whole reason they made that was because this is way back then, even though it's come out now, like it's news, that the observer can affect machines. So they
Hmm.
say that the whole reason they were saying nothing can be accurately measured because there's always an issue with someone's consciousness. And their explanation for that was this cold plasma that would be affected by someone's consciousness. So in the file, they tell the scientists that they have to have a very calm state so they don't affect the metrology. So I
Yeah.
just thought it was crazy that plasma was in there. It was like a gold mine for me.
Yeah, that's wild. It's the
Mhm.
observer effect. I mean,
Mhm.
if a
Yeah.
conscious observer
Yeah.
is present, it's always going to affect the outcome of any machine, any instrument, any experiment,
Mhm.
to the point where this is a little known trade secret, but in
Mhm.
aeronautics, when they're developing like fighter jets and that kind of stuff,
Mhm.
the instrument panels are so sensitive that it picks up on human emotion, and they have to have these like backup redundancy systems and stuff. So say you're in like an F-16 fighter jet, and you get scared. Your
Hmm.
fear can actually affect the instruments, and everything's so sensitive, and you're going so fast, and there's no room for error that your fear can actually make something malfunction or cause a crash. They have these like backup systems because they know the people that make these jets and stuff know that human emotion can affect instruments and stuff. This is known. And they don't really know why or how. They can't explain it, but they know that it happens. They can just measure the
It's
effect.
plasma because it's
Oh, yeah.
metal, right? Because
Yeah.
there's something called the Gallium model, which is that metal has the same characteristics of plasma, and that's why people are doing stuff, I think what they're called with nanomorphic materials, where you can like do these ionized things. They're literally doing plasma things to manipulate solid matter. But if you look up the Gallium model, I think that they've actually used this at Lockheed Martin with shape shifting metals. Our emotions affect it because it's effing plasma. Plasma is a behavior. Like, yeah, sure, it's a state of matter, but it's all states of matter. Plasma is a behavior of an information or consciousness exchange. That's
Yeah.
what plasma is.
Do
Yeah.
you think that plasma, is fundamentally conscious, or do you think that consciousness sort of
Hmm.
penetrates and activates it? Or maybe,
I'm
or they're two
so
different kinds?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked me that because when you were saying it, I wanted to say it. But so I believe that plasma is a vehicle for consciousness, right? So I think once again, I'm just putting it on categories, but I would say fifth dimensional plasma consciousness is still plasma and consciousness separate, but almost not separate. It's almost like a dual monad where they're still distinct because there needs to be some kind of creation and feedback. So I wouldn't call plasma conscious, but then again, like fourth dimensional plasma, what I would call our collective unconscious, where like the Akashic field, where it's like this river of consciousness flowing through it. Like, yeah, you could say plasma's consciousness is our collective conscious and it's unconscious right now. And as we all, evolve and wake up, it may become conscious. Like, I don't know that. That's actually something I've been looking into and very curious about. But it's still like a river of consciousness and it is separate from plasma. It's like the talker in the mirror. Plasma is like the hall of mirrors and you would go crazy just in plasma. And then consciousness would be like if two people are talking. Like you need consciousness to experience itself with the mirror. So anyway, I wouldn't say
Hmm.
plasma is conscious. I would say it's sentient. But I think it's okay to say plasma is conscious when you're referring to it, like if you're talking about some of this stuff, because they just go hand in hand.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's so hard to like, because, okay, let's
It's a
look at the
mystery.
spirit. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's look at the spirit world, for example. So say in the spirit world, we have
Hmm.
all of our individual higher selves, right? So the higher
Yeah.
self is like your collective of all of your lifetimes and all of your data that makes you you. So that's there. That's like a file folder in the database.
Hmm.
And then, so you could say, okay, well, that's my consciousness. That's me.
Hmm.
That's my consciousness. But then there's billions of other consciousnesses. So if you
Yeah.
zoom out collectively, that
Mhm,
spirit field, which is a
mhm,
field of I would assume
mhm.
plasma,
Yeah.
it's going to have a collective consciousness as well. It's going to have a
Mhm.
human
Yeah.
consciousness. So at a certain level, at a zoomed in, granular level, it's an
Mhm,
individual consciousness. At a zoomed
mhm.
out level,
It's
it's the
collective.
collective human consciousness.
I
And then
agree.
you have to think, okay, well, are we just a cell in a much bigger consciousness? Does it keep zooming out and zooming out?
Mhm.
So it's
I
like it's such a tricky question because it depends on what level of focus you're at. Like how zoomed in or zoomed out are you? You know what I mean? Uh, Little technical difficulty there, which happens a lot when you talk about the
the truth.
phenomenon,
Yeah.
right? Like I've had many interviews with different people. I've never had this happen with this software, which is really funny because that means we were touching on something sensitive. But but
Woo!
yeah, but this is a known thing. Like whenever you're in this world of talking about kind of the phenomenon, how
Mhm.
certain times, certain topics, things like this happen. And
Yeah, I've had
so
it too.
yeah, it's super interesting. So we'll
Yeah.
we'll shift course a little bit because obviously whatever we were talking about before, maybe
I don't remember, so let's just continue. I can start with the definition of plasma, like what the name means.
yeah, what's that?
All right, here we go. So plasma, the way they named plasma, I think in Greek meant to mold or the molded. So clay, intelligent clay, plasma, and to even stretch it further, because people always ask me why I call this energy plasma. It's like, well, number one, because we're literally studying it in science and it is plasma. That's the name of it. But names aren't a mistake. Number two, plas dash ma. It's like a symbolism of the myth of the divine feminine, of the receiver of consciousness is the masculine and feminine is the plasma. The cosmic mother, Mary Magdalene. So anyway, the name is fascinating.
I like the way that you describe that with consciousness being the masculine and plasma being the feminine.
Yeah.
Even like Robert Temple, when he talks about going into the astral world, the dream world, stuff like that, he talks about how the beings all have a masculine and feminine like persona and identity, even though there's no gender. Like when you look at
Yeah.
them, there's no gender. It's just an energy.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it makes you realize that there has to be these kind of opposite
Duality.
sides, this duality of everything. And I
Yeah.
like how you talked about that the consciousness would be the masculine energy, and
Yeah.
the plasma itself is the creation, and
Yes.
the feminine energy is all about creation. That's the feminine energy. So I think that's super fascinating. And you're hearing a lot of people nowadays talk about the divine feminine and
Hmm.
that coming back to that age of Aquarius and divine feminine rule and that kind of stuff. And it makes you wonder, are they just talking about the age of plasma
Yeah.
understanding? You know?
Well, yes, and because you said balance, right? So I'll actually the men will love this. I think hopefully the women will too once they understand. But with the pendulum swinging just from like the material and masculine to the feminine and plasma. The beautiful thing is, I think the age of Aquarius is the age of plasma as far as like the divine child. It's like, what do plasma and consciousness synergize and create? Reality, or the child of God, or the divine child, or the mix of masculine and feminine, the neutrality. That's why I think also people are exploring with their sexuality and androgynous. Nothing wrong with that. Anyone, it's amazing, good for everyone. But I think it's the time where we're, exploring truths and things in flux. And yeah, I think the real age of it is like, just for everyone out there, yes, it is the resurgence of the divine feminine and healing her, but then we're also healing the divine masculine, and then what you birth from that is reality, an emergent reality, or this, child. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like we have to have both of those in balance. You don't want one, you know what I mean? That's what we really need more than anything is just the
Balance.
harmonization between the
Yeah.
two. And that seems to be where we're headed is like, there's all these people even in like the intelligence industries and
Yeah.
military and government that seem to have this like consciousness bubbling up inside of them. They're
Mhm.
starting to realize, oh, they're human, and
Mhm.
that's why you've seen so many whistleblowers and so many people at high levels that are like they can't sit on this stuff anymore. They're like, I must talk about it, I must share this, and that's why you're seeing all these people coming out. And it's
Mhm.
almost like in the past they were able just to suppress it and just take the stuff to the grave, and now you're seeing it like eat people up inside. They're like, I have to tell somebody something, and
Mhm.
I think that's because our consciousness is expanding, and we need like at an individual level, these people must,
Have to.
express themselves. And then so at a collective level, if you have everybody tapping into this and everyone expressing themselves, and then the secrets start coming out and the darkness starts to go away, and then you have this like, I mean, it's kind of this collective enlightenment, this spiritual awakening that seems to be sort of building, and it's individual by individual, but at the same time, there might be this like kind of explosion of it if it hits like a critical mass.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yes, I think that's something with consciousness, or it has to do with monkeys or something. But it's like after like enough have the same intelligence, it just takes one, and then that changes the wave of all of them. What is it? Is that the third age?
100th monkey effect. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever the heck it is. But that's how I feel. And I will say something. I want to make a comparison. Let me be gentle in how I handle this as a trauma survivor. I think when you experience trauma, I've experienced trauma, we want to come right out and say it before we've had therapy. If I came right out and said everything I experienced in trauma without vantage points on it, I think it would have been very, like, not good. And I would caution people before they speak out to get therapy from the right supports, not someone trying to silence you. Because, like, my view on some of my trauma now, it's like different than when I first remembered it. And I think, at least for me as an experiencer, I think what can be a narrative that's a little scary to say is that we, are interfacing with these like very evil things, and it's because they were in trauma. It doesn't mean it's not real, but I think without also pushing the narrative that we have control over this and we have just as much power, and if we heal ourselves, that we don't have to have these scary experiences. Like, we have to include both perspectives. So, if you were just coming out and saying that story, even though it's, you should do that, but we need to outweigh it with hopefully things like my book and people like you and other people that like have the mental health factor attached to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And like, I mean, you touched on something really profound, and it has to do with like forgiveness and stuff. That like when something traumatic happens to you, the best thing you can do, and people don't want to hear this, but the best thing you can do is forgive the person that did it to you, because
Totally.
you're by creating that like tether, you're creating this energetic tether between you and that person, and you're
Mhm.
feeding it, you're keeping it alive, and you're keeping that energy pumping into you, whereas the other
Mhm.
person probably doesn't even know about it, think about it, care about it. It's you doing it to yourself. So
Yeah.
the best thing you can do, because people say, well, I don't want to forgive that person, they're an asshole, and it's like, well, you're not doing it for them, you're doing it for you. But it does send this ripple out. And then, so what happens, a lot of people, when they go through a forgiveness exercise like Ho'oponopono or something like that, where you
Mhm.
forgive the people that caused your trauma, the wildest thing happens. So say you had trauma, somebody caused it to you, and you go through the exercise and you forgive them. Like a week later, that person that you probably haven't heard from in years will like send you a message or call you or
Yeah.
something. And they'll be like, you know what? I just wanted to say I was sorry, And you're like, whoa, where'd that come from? Well, it's because you just cut that cord and you sent this like energetic ripple out to them, and they felt it. And then it heals that trauma on both sides, because
Yeah.
that person that caused trauma to you, not to let them off the hook or anything, because you have to take responsibility, but maybe they had trauma inflicted on them, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. So maybe these higher dimensional beings, maybe what we call demons and all these things, maybe
Mhm.
they're trauma victims too, and they're acting out, or maybe they're disembodied spirits that are sort of
No, they are.
lost. And exactly. And so
No,
sometimes
they're
you have to show a little grace even to the evil things and be like, you know what?
yeah.
Maybe you're like this because something bad happened to you, and maybe you need healing. And then
They
maybe
need
that's how, yeah, exactly.
Which is so controversial to say. And I'm not saying to let every like negative thing you see in your life, but it's a thing of like, I say this in my book, it's nuanced again. It's like, okay, if you're seeing a scary thing in your bedroom, I've seen that too. And it's like, okay, it's either something reflecting off of, there's a few things it could be, and let's just be honest. So there's something you're seeing an energy, it's a real energy, whether it's information, consciousness, intelligence, that's debatable in its core. But what you're seeing, it's encased in plasma, and let's say it's a demon or something. You're either seeing your trauma reflected out from that, and it wants you to remember and heal it, and it's crying out for help. So, like what I've done with my therapist is reminding it it's light and love, and then it will go away. And it really does. Or sometimes, even if you laugh, it kind of goes away. It's like the sleep paralysis demon, you laugh at it and it goes away. And then there's, it can happen where someone can, if they're practicing magic, can send some unconscious. Once again, they're all, I think the real fear based stuff is all unconscious. It's not conscious. But it's like if you have fear, it will become very real for you. So people can send these like egregore spirits to you. I think this happens 0.01% of the time. I don't know how many people try to do this to people. And then same thing, if you just change your resonance, you won't resonate with it. You have 100% protection. And these are all once again fourth dimensional spirits. And then when we talk about what I call fifth dimensional plasma, or these higher dimensional beings that don't have trauma, let's just say, like these other beings do. And once again, their trauma is just our trauma, and they're reflecting all of it because it's the collective unconscious. These higher dimensional beings are still coming in this like four-dimensional plasma paint, right? So they're all encased in our effing trauma. So like when I was younger, half the time I thought I was abducted, not all the times, but half the time I thought I was abducted or like saw demons, they turned out to be beings that were protecting me, that were like my future self. And I was in a state of fear and trauma, so I didn't see the truth of what they were. So that's why healing's so important, because then you can see like, oh, okay, this like is not something I like and I don't want to interface with it. Or you can be neutral, or you can be like, I'm sending you love, like you're a being of love and light, like bye. Like there's just so many ways to deal with it beyond like I'm being haunted. Ah.
Yeah, because that'll
Yeah.
probably just feed it more energy,
Yes.
and it's like a feedback thing. It's like a never-ending loop. It's like a bully. If a
Yeah.
bully is bullying you, they only bully you if you let yourself be bullied, because then it's fun to them, right? But once you
Yes.
stand up to a bully, it's not fun to the bully anymore, and they move on to the next person. So
Yeah.
you're taking their power away from them in a way. So like you said,
Mhm.
if something's bullying you
Mhm.
spiritually, sending it light and love will really
It's
mess up its frequency. It you know what I
yes.
mean? Kind of it's off its
It'll send
game.
it down.
And yeah.
It'll evolve. And another thing too, this is very important to say, and then I'll shut up about it, is when people, shit, I lost it. It was so important. When people are experiencing these things, oh no. What were we just saying? The beings of consciousness,
Oh no.
send it back to light and love. Oh my God. Hold on,
No,
give me
you're
2 seconds, and if I don't, we'll move on.
there.
Oh, okay, this is huge. When you share, so like my negative experiences, I don't go into detail much. Like, obviously, I did a little bit because, we want to share experiences, but going into detail and just focusing on negative experiences, people think help. They actually don't. They feed the wolf. So I think it's very important, once again, to like, unless you're talking to a therapist, like instead of maybe coming out to the public right away about those kind of things, like realizing you're feeding that egregore pendulum or wolf, and like think maybe, okay, how can you work with this with like a shaman or a therapist to heal it? And then maybe you'll have a whole perspective, and then you could talk about it in a way that still tells people, but isn't so graphic and like literally like I've had people tell me experiences and then I have them because it's that energy, and then it comes in case to me, and I'm like, don't effing tell me your experiences anymore, because like they come to me. So like I think there's just like responsibility, and this is a new fucking world. Like we just think we're like, yes, express your trauma, like I'm in support of that, but it's like the way we do it, like we're learning, but it's just a suggestion.
Well, yeah, and it's us going into this new world, like you said, realizing that we're co-creators. So in the past, I think people just thought life happened to you and these negative things happen to you. But when you start to
Yeah,
realize, no, you are partially, I'm not saying you're responsible for bad things happening. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we are co-creating our
well, you
reality. So
attract.
yes. So once you realize that and you're like, oh, okay, I'm playing a role in some of these things, it changes your mentality on stuff, and it makes you start to think more about like your thoughts, your behaviors, your feelings, that kind of stuff, because maybe you're not necessarily creating these things, but you might be adding fuel to their fire. You might be powering some of these things. So it's
Totally.
taking that responsibility that we aren't just bystanders in a movie. We're the director. We're creating this movie. So kind of have
Yeah.
intentionality about what you're doing, how
Oh,
you're creating it. Yeah.
yeah. And it's not easy when you're coming from trauma. Like I, for the longest time, was not grounded, was not embodied. And I would talk about my trauma to anyone who would listen. Like, I get it. Like, I'm not trying to judge, but it's like, yeah, once I healed, I was like, oh, I don't need a trauma dump on everyone. I think right now we're just all trauma dumping. Which, once again, it's like, fine, people won't feel alone. But in another way, yeah, just like think about it more. Yeah.
Yeah, and often time does a lot of healing. Like I've had a lot of trauma in my life, like my whole life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Took a long
things that
time.
I can laugh about now, I couldn't laugh about back then. I looked at everything in a much different light. Now I can kind of see the bigger picture, like, oh, okay, here's why that happened. Here's the lessons I learned from it, yada yada. Whereas when you're
Yeah.
in it, you're in that soup of emotions, nothing really makes sense and you're not clear headed. And that's just the
Those
reality of
people.
it.
Yeah, sorry to
Yeah.
cut you off. I said those people won't resonate with me right now, and like I get it. But like just to speak on it, and if you want to share something, feel free to. Obviously, it's your podcast. But like I was molested from like age 9 to 12 by a gymnastics teacher. Like I know I chose that as a soul coming here. I did not deserve that. I maybe co-created it as my soul, but I did that so I could have. If I didn't feel the darkest depths and feel fear and loneliness and depression like I did then, and have all my addictions, how could I come back from that darkness and lead other people out of that darkness? Like, and I cry even to this day sometimes, like, why do I experience so much fear or paranoia or anxiety like on certain days? I'm like, oh, because if I didn't touch this, I wouldn't be able to explain this and how it links to plasma and how people can. So like I've been there with you guys. I've been in the darkest depths. I've not wanted to live. I've been in horrible depths of addiction. I know you have too. I've had terrible things happen, wondering why. But yeah, with some time, just keep going, never give up, because you'll understand it one day. It doesn't mean you deserved it. It just means like love yourself, have compassion for yourself, and understand there's a bigger thing at play, and use your experiences to help people. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, like when we do past life regressions and people go to past lives, like terrible, horrible things happen to them in these lives. I mean, that's reality sometimes. But they are able to look at it and see it from such a different perspective and without that emotional tie and say, that's why that happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense. In a weird way, it makes sense. So the things that are happening to you in this lifetime, they don't make sense to you now. But one day they will. and it all makes sense.
Yeah.
And I know that when people
Yeah.
are thick into it, that doesn't make sense to them. Like me saying that, they're like, "Oh, easy for you to say. You're not living this." And it's like, I totally get it, But I just
Yeah.
like you just said,
Yeah.
my advice would be stay positive, stay the course, and just know that one day it will make sense, and you'll be rewarded for all this. Because like if I could go back in time and
For
change
this.
all my trauma, I wouldn't change it. Like it made me who I
Me
am.
either.
Yeah, as painful and
Same.
terrible and dark as it was, I really
Mhm.
wouldn't go back and change it, because now I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I have these better insights, better perspectives, and better characteristics now. Then it actually evolved me and changed me in positive ways, even though it was so
Yeah.
terrible, and I wouldn't change
Yeah.
it. And I don't
Mhm.
know, I didn't make the system, I didn't make the rules, I don't know why things have to
Mhm.
be this way, but it really
Mhm.
does seem that like trauma really does create, it's like going to the gym. You put heavy weights on the
Mhm.
bar because the more resistance, the stronger you get. It's like we come here and
Mhm.
these things that are resistance, they make us
Mhm.
stronger. They develop our character, and
Yeah.
they level up our
Character
consciousness. Yeah.
Yeah. No, in that way, I mean, it completely feels like a video game. I still don't think it is, but like it kind of is. Like it is, but it isn't. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, yeah,
It's just a
obviously we're
metaphor.
modeled.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, video games are modeled after like, some original reality, like Plato would say. So like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So I got to ask you, and you wrote like a 600-page book. I mean, you covered everything. You go into like mythology and philosophy and science and artificial intelligence and all sorts of things. Are there any things that like really stand out to you that like as you learned it and was writing and stuff, you're just like, holy crap, like this is wild.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the whole book is wild, but is there anything that just stands out that, I mean, I know you
Yeah.
can like,
That's a great question.
I flipped to just many random pages, and everything I read, I was just like,
Yeah.
yep, like mind blown, like resonated with.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is gold. But I didn't know if
Thank
like with
you.
AI, it's like a hot topic now, and
Yeah.
even Robert Temple, when he talks about the intelligences out in the astral, a lot of times he talks about them as like he calls them automatic or programmed or something like that intelligences, and he says there's like higher intelligences that are fully conscious,
Mhm.
and they're
Mhm.
different, but there are lots of
Mhm.
intelligences out in the astral,
Mhm.
out in the plasma universe, that
Mhm.
seem to be artificial or at least programmed, like automatons,
Mhm.
and that makes you
Mhm.
look at things like AI and things like that a little bit
Mhm.
differently. So what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
artificial intelligence? Like,
Yeah, I think I'll make a little pattern recognition thing here. Artificial intelligence is meant to be a supportive technology. It is not meant to be demonized or put on a pedestal. It is just like Googling. It is just like anything else that's supportive. It is informational. It is not conscious. Maybe it has a conscious mechanism, right? But it doesn't have like real intuition. Like it doesn't dream and stuff. It doesn't have a plasma body, but like technically everything's made of plasma, right? So it's like informational, but I wouldn't call it conscious, if that makes any sense. I think, it feeds back with us. It reflects our consciousness. So I think AI is once again another archetype modeled after an original archetype of how plasma works. I'm I think it's once again about the person behind it that matters more than AI. I think, AI will be totally in this world. There's no stopping that. Is it the best for our environment? No, but neither is the internet. So, like, I don't know what to do about that. And I'm not the one to change that. But yes, it's not the best, like, sustainability wise. But once again, neither is technology, and we talk on the phones every day. So I don't know. There's like weird balances. But as far as like the automatons, or like I think when I used to listen to this guy David Icke, and I think he called them archons. I was like a big David Icke person when I was younger. My
yeah,
boyfriend at the time, like we were just all up in that stuff. And I think that once again,
he's
that's why I
very
call it
extreme, but a lot of the stuff he says, it's like
some of it
later
came
down the
true.
road, it starts getting proven correct. At the time, people
Well,
just
it's
say
like,
he's crazy, and then 20 years later, they're like,
yeah.
"Oh, I think he was onto something."
No, he's just a human that has intuition, and like he's not right about everything, and he was definitely right about stuff, and he spoke out, and like sometimes we go off the deep end, sometimes we don't. Maybe our beliefs don't always align with other people, but it doesn't mean we don't speak truth. But as far as the like what I forget what you call them, but like that's why I call them informational beings versus conscious or intelligent beings. And I relate it to AI again. Yes, they're programmable. It's like this dark or four-dimensional plasma. They're programmed by our consciousness, and most of our consciousness is unconscious. And we can, free them to this is why all religions have these mythologies about freeing and dark hell and light and heaven. But like, yeah, we can send them back to light if we want to and evolve them, or they can just stay there in the crypt of the fourth dimensional plasma. And it's not just a bad place. There's other beautiful mythologies there and healing energies to call on, like ancestors and dakinis and archetypes. It's not just bad, so I don't want to put an emphasis on that, but they're all there. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, but compare, yeah, all of that is like I would call informational, which isn't have its own free will.
Yeah. No, I agree. And it's so fascinating to think about that, like maybe all those things are here to be healed. And maybe part of our role in all this is like this is all an evolving system, so you got to think about like, you know, like when you compare like say even the Old Testament to the New Testament. Like I'm not a religious person, but I study this stuff,
Yeah.
and like
Mm-hmm.
there is like an evolution of things in just that short amount of time. And like the archons come from like the Gnostic text talking about they're kind of like dark angels, and they're
Mm-hmm.
controlling, they work for the demiurge, and they
Dark
keep us in this like
plasma. Sorry.
yeah, exactly. But maybe they're just okay. So maybe they were programmed a certain way, or they learned a certain way from their environment, or whatever. But maybe they can be reprogrammed. Maybe they can be taught. Maybe they can be evolved. And maybe that's kind of one of our roles here
Mm-hmm.
is like if you spread so much light and love. And I'm not a like a toxic spirituality type person. I talk about both sides of the coin, but I definitely
Same.
believe that the underlying kind of mechanics of the universe is this like unconditional love, that we're trying to get back to this reduction of entropy, creating order out of chaos. Like it's kind of like you shatter a mirror in a million pieces and you put them back together. That's kind of what our role here is. We're problem solvers. And that maybe one of the things we're supposed to be doing is healing not only our personal trauma, but like the trauma from past, the
Of
ancestral trauma, the earth, the trauma we've imposed on the earth, all these
Yeah,
things. Like once you take care of yourself, I think you're supposed to then start taking care of the bigger picture, you know. So
I
instead of running
I
from
agree.
it, and yeah, yeah. So I know,
Yeah,
like
I
for
think
most
taking
people, they're
your sorry,
yeah.
go ahead. You're
I
on
was gonna
flag.
say, like for most people, that seems so like okay, like I got to take care of myself first. I don't have time to take care of archons and the stuff. But it's like, but I don't. I think like collectively, I'm not saying each person, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Just to kind of sprinkle some hope out there that like these evil things, maybe they're not evil, maybe they're just lost in the system, kind of a thing. And
Lost.
yeah, they're just lost.
And
It's
it's
it's a
the
crazy world.
system. Because you refer to the system, and it is true, like systems theory, everything's a system, but it's an open system. It's not a closed system. And when you enter awareness into the chat, you can reprogram and evolve. And it is plasma. Maybe cold plasma, maybe dark plasma, whatever these beings will be. It's different than like light plasma or like misty plasma, as I'd call it, or fifth dimensional plasma. But yes, it could totally be reprogrammed to our benefit, to our healing. So, yeah, as when we stop the fear narratives and just like realize it wants to be healed as a collective, our world can be amazing. It doesn't mean humans won't do bad things. Maybe they won't in the future, but I'm not claiming a utopia. I'm just claiming that, yeah, what you're saying is accurate.
Yeah, we have free will. There's always going to be people that do dumb shit with their free will. That's how you learn,
Yeah.
you know. But uh, but
Yeah.
yeah. So when I look at like our solar system, and it
Yeah.
seems like we're in this bubble. Have you ever looked at like that, like the sort of bubble that we're in, the heliosphere? What do they call?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really interesting because like the sun
Yeah.
basically creates this like this solar wind, and when it hits
Yeah.
the plasma currents, it creates this like boundary, and it seems like
Yeah.
we're in this like bubble that's like floating around the universe. I know I just changed gears there, but it's something I've been like kind of researching lately because
Yeah.
like it explains so much that we're like in this bubble, and going back to what we talked about at the beginning of the conversation, how like NASA and them are sort of starting to realize maybe they don't understand space. And it's like it made me
Mm-hmm.
realize that like okay, maybe our space inside the bubble is a certain way. It has a certain kind of laws of physics, and it operates a certain way. Kind of like when you're in the water in the ocean, things are a certain way. But once you pass that boundary line and you go into air, well, like
Yeah.
fish can't fly and birds can't swim. There's like things change, and it made me think that maybe outside of that little bubble that our solar system's in, things are completely different on the outside, you know, and that maybe that's what
Uh-huh.
NASA realized with the Voyagers when they sent it out there and it crossed over that boundary line. They reported
Love
all
to
these
know
strange
that.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it makes you realize that like maybe space isn't this evenly distributed thing where everything's the same. Like it's very possible that we're in a
No,
little bubble
it's not.
and different bubbles are completely different, you know? Yeah.
I
So
think you're right. I think it's called what is it called? Antriposic. There's a word where space isn't distributed evenly. And someone said in the 50s and they all laughed at the person. But I think we're all in levels of plasmoids, just like as above, so below. Like I'm in a plasmoid, the Earth is in a magnetosphere, ionosphere, and then there's bigger and bigger ones. So I think there's gradients and there's crossovers and there's feedback. But no, yeah, totally. We're in a plasmoid and a plasmoid and a
Yeah.
plasmoid.
It seems like it, yeah. So you had talked earlier about like the biofield, like this sort of like almost like how do you describe that? Like, is there any connection there with plasma? Like, it seems like,
Yeah,
we've always thought that our everything is inside our body, and now we're realizing that
yeah,
no, we emanate. We have like an energetic body that kind of,
yes,
penetrates our physical body.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's our bioplasma. So you can call it cold plasma, or I call it intermediate plasma. You can call it bioplasma. I think Eileen McCusick has a book called Tuning the Human Biofield about it. It's like a toroidal shape. It's our own plasmoid. It is made, you can even think of it almost as like fourth dimensional plasma. And that's why, we interface I think it's connected with fourth dimensional plasma. It's almost like, let's say we came out of the singularity and the event horizon was like a two-dimensional dark plasma, not programmed at all, and then it cloaked us. And then we had trauma throughout the millions of years, and now there's like this fourth dimensional layer around us that is just full of trauma and fear. And if we heal it, we'll interface with reality differently. Our biofield or bioplasma, I picture it as, and I say this in my book, whatever. On the outside of the torus, there are little cilias or tentacles, and our consciousness has feelers, and it continuously goes in and out of us, like a toroidal shape. And that's why we need to feel things with our felt sense versus our logic, because it's actually our plasma intelligence, our feeling first, and that's how we're sensing our outer reality. So when you don't have a bias, when you're meeting someone with presence, that's when you experience real truth, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Yeah, I was at the Psy Games a few weeks ago and with a bunch of
Yeah.
psychics, and it's like the
So, yeah.
psychic Olympics, and we were doing a lot of things with the biofield and how you can sort of focus. It's almost like a lamp
Mhm.
first laser type of a concept. So like if you think about
Yeah.
your biofield as like emanating like a lamp at all times, but then you can use your focused intention to
hmm
focus it like a laser, and that's how you
hmm
can actually like use it to manipulate matter and things like that. You can extend it and expand it and concentrate it in certain areas, especially through your
hmm
hands. And you that's how people
Yeah.
have been
Your hand.
forced. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The hands kind of seems to be like the I don't know. I think it's why Reiki works, and I think that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's super
The
interesting, but like
hands are.
this thing. Yeah, people just don't even know it exists, and don't think about it, but it's like it exists in everybody. It's there. So let's learn how to use it. Yeah,
Yeah, you can call it in mythology, it's the Merkaba. And then
yeah.
if people want an easy applicable practice, because people always ask me, look up Qigong, Qigong. It's like they learn how to
Hmm.
use the key field is plasma. It's all this, it's your bioplasma. It's all the same thing.
Yeah. There's all these different
Yeah.
words like chi and you know,
Qi,
uh
prana,
yeah, prana and ki, like it's all they're all
intestine.
describing the same thing. It's just like energy
Yeah.
life force, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's measurable, it's there, it's everybody has it. It's like it's not woo-woo or anything like that. And these ancient, civilizations and cultures have been studying this and honoring this and using it for thousands of years. And it's like all of a sudden we like forgot all this. It's the weirdest thing. Yeah. But it's all come flooding back. And I'm
It
super
is.
excited to read your whole book. Like that's
Love
like I don't read a lot of books. I always listen to books, but
it.
like yours, it has pretty pictures, and it's like it's captivating. As soon as I started reading it, like I didn't want to stop. So it
Oh,
really
thank
was like, yeah. So I'm excited to get my hands on a physical copy, and
Yes.
it's
Yeah. When the physical's out, I think you'll enjoy the process a lot more than staring at your screen. The physical copy, there's just some magic in physical books where you can like take notes and yeah.
yeah. And Dana, I mean, I thank you for giving me so much of your time today, but you're a bright light in all this. Like I follow a lot of people, and a lot of people talk about all this stuff, but like you have this like enthusiasm about life that I hope is contagious to people, because too many times people go through life and they just focus on either bad things or work or bills or stress or government or all this stuff. And all that stuff's there. It's always going to be there. You can't do anything about it. It'll be there in 1,000 years. It was there 1,000 years ago. But
Mhm.
like try to like find the wonder and the magic in life. Like we don't need to invent new magical things or invent like life itself is magical. And there's so much we don't understand about like our own place, our own world, our own human being. Like we don't know, like everyone's trying to figure out what aliens are and trying to go to Mars and this kind of crap. And it's like, dude, you don't even know what humans are. Like, how are you gonna know what an alien is? You don't even know what a human is. We don't even know what's in Earth. We don't even know what's at the bottom of the ocean. We don't know anything about our own planet for the most
Let's
part.
focus on that first.
Yeah, let's focus on that. I think plasma is going to be, it's not just a buzzword because it sounds cool to say.
No.
It's a buzzword because I think the higher intelligences are peppering it in there because this is what's going to get us over this hump. This is what's going to
Yeah.
like get us to the new world. I think
Yeah.
it's incredibly important. And I think we're
Me
just at the very
too.
beginning of
Same.
understanding. Yeah. Where do you
It's so
where do you
exciting.
see this going? Like, what do you kind of see like the next few years of all this looking like?
Yeah, well, I could tell you thousands of years, but I guess I'll do the next few because that's not yeah, and I think one thing I would love to say is I have a theory that inside our Earth is a, lovely little vortex, the same as our solar plexus, the same as maybe a black hole is, and it all leads to this, these other worlds. And I know that sounds legitimately psychotic, but I think we have a habit of externalizing and looking for the answers outside of us, like in space, like most people are doing. It's all psychology based. We've all done it. I've done it, and looking for validation and think pretty shiny things outside. And it's like the second we look inside our inner Earth, we'll find way more than we're going to find in space. Trust me on that with the minerals. We're going to find a lot of answers about our entire heliosphere, if you want to call it that, or plasmoid. And we're going to realize just, yeah, how beautiful like human connection is, which we kind of already know, but like just to staple that in further. And like, we don't need to escape Earth. We can save the planet. We're not too far gone. Like, we don't need to do anything else new even to save the planet. We just need to stop ruining it. Like, God. But as far as like a few years with plasma, sorry, I got on a tangent. As far as
No,
a
you're right.
few,
Like our job's not to save the planet. Our job is to get out of the way and let it do its
let
own
it
thing. Just
be.
stop messing things up. Same with your body. Your body takes care of itself. Just get out of the way. Don't make it
Yes.
harder than it has to be.
I never get sick. And sorry, doctors, but I haven't been to a doctor since I was 15 or a dentist. Like, I'm very healthy. And like, I think it's all about the plasma field. I'm not saying you should never go to a doctor. I think once again, it's balance, right? So like maybe I've swung the pendulum too far, but like maybe a like shamanic holistic doctor versus like someone who's never studied this shit and like puts me on a bunch of things. Not like some people don't need medication though. That's very serious. Okay. Sorry, I'm blabbing now. Let me censor myself. Okay, the next few years in plasma, I think that we're going to realize that the singularity of technology is emotion and awareness and consciousness. It's not machines becoming conscious. It's learning that we need to meet our emotions and consciousness to learn how to use new technologies. Just like these higher consciousnesses literally use plasma. And like when we see UFOs and they fall to the ground and they're metal and they're not moving, it's like, yeah, because that consciousness is no longer harmonizing with it. Like, so I think that's like far in the future, but I think just realizing the frontier of this is learning to harmonize our consciousness with plasma. And like there's going to be a huge emphasis on healing and embodiment and yes, like soft technology. And I think we'll see maybe steps in that direction. I think we'll also at first see a lot of lost people who are saying that they're God and they know the only way with plasma, because when you connect with plasma there's a big chance to spiritual bypass because you have such beautiful revelations and you think you know everything. And the thing is, you're actually just connecting with a field of mythology, and they're telling you things through mythological characters like Jesus and Cleopatra, or like a monkey coming to you and dropping a key down your throat, which would happen with me. And it's more like they're telling us we're all mini gods. Like not one of us is special, everyone is special, but we're all unique. Just don't let your ego get carried away. Don't think you're the only right person. Remember, truths change every day. And please remember to stay embodied and heal your trauma, because you can be so psychic, But if you're not healing your trauma, it's going to be a detriment to everyone, including yourself. So yeah, just like big emphasis on embodiment, grounding, and then we can start getting into like the really fun stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Ah, that's so powerful. And since we touched on trauma so much, I will say that trauma, when it comes to this stuff, is like a superpower once
Mm.
you have gotten
Yeah.
through it. So
Yeah.
if anyone out there is in a traumatic situation, know that one day you're going to look back and you're going to say, that is now my fuel for my amazing psychic abilities and my amazing connection to the higher consciousness. It really
Mhm.
does like it's like a superpower. At the
Yeah.
time, maybe not so much, but on the other side of it, it is. And that gives you some hope. Okay, once I work through this and once I'm on the other side of this, I'm going to be
Yeah.
a freaking superhero because it
We're
really,
here.
it does. I mean, it really is a catalyst for a lot of these things.
Yes.
So there is something good that comes out of
Comes
everything
from
that's bad. Yeah.
And also, can I say one more thing about it?
You
Wait,
may.
because you think of it, the movie Mystery Men, where all their weaknesses become their superpowers. It was like with Ben Stiller in the 90s. Like the people with trauma, you'll become a mystery man. And, God, the mystery, it's all, you're going to be so powerful. And, oh, you said something else that made me think of something that now I forgot. Oh, your trauma. So with your trauma and with fear, that's actually when you're feeling all those dark things, that's actually plasma just trying to support you and hug you. Trauma and grief introduce you to that film, to the fabric of reality, to plasma. The problem is you don't have the awareness that it's trying to protect you. So you think it's like this horrible thing, but once you heal yourself, you get to have a new relationship with this plasma, and that's when you start co-creating with it. But I think we just mistake fear and realize we don't realize it's, love and plasma. So yeah, just having awareness of the fact that what you're going through is almost like squeezing you out to burst something new, like don't quit before the miracle happens kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. It's like when you hear a sound at night and you immediately think, oh, it's an intruder coming to kill me. And it's like, no, it's just a sound. It might be your cat or something, right? It's
Yeah.
like, so that plasma being that's hugging you and showing you love and support, we are like, what is this thing? Get off me. And
Yeah.
it's like, once you understand, no, it's there to help you,
Mhm.
everything changes. So,
Mhm.
oh, I could talk to you for days,
I
Dana.
know.
Yeah.
Part
Thank you so
two
much.
next. I'm just kidding.
I am super excited that today your book releases
Yes.
and
And
that
nine.
that I got to talk to you on that day. 9/9. Do you have the book with you?
Yeah. So yeah, 999. Oh, it's right under my computer. 999 because 2025 equals 9 too. So I
There
did
you
that
go.
intentionally. And then I'm 36, which adds up to 9. Um, and then it's 684 pages. 8 plus 4 is 12. 12 plus 6 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9.
Oh my God. Come on. Are you serious? That's
Yes.
too much. And it's such a
Yes.
beautiful cover. I really, really like it. It's
Thank
awesome.
you.
It really is. I mean, it's a excellent book. It's massive. It's got if you want to know anything about plasma, it's in there. I mean, it's
It
everything.
is.
And the cool thing is we're learning new stuff every day. So,
Yes.
I mean, obviously you're going to have to do an expanded version
Oh,
someday.
I have part 2 and 3 already in here. It's just I need some time for human Dana and going to see some movies and eat, Outback Steakhouse, and then I'll
Yeah.
write my next book.
I could
Um,
imagine the amount of work and focus that took. So that's not a small
so
thing.
so much, and I want to say to anyone who does have an idea that thinks it's too weird or they're going through trauma, like once again, I wrote this right after my dad died. I think it was a healthy form of dealing with it because I also let myself cry and have really bad days, but just like do it now. I mean, there is divine timing, but if you want to do something, like even if you're going through trauma, like I just do it, and I think it'll, all feed into a greater good. Don't just lay around too long, but definitely give yourself some time to lay around.
Yeah, but you can, like you said, you can use it as sort of a fuel. You can use it to inspire you to do something where you can look back and say, okay, that was terrible that happened, but this good, amazing, beautiful thing came out of it, and you'll have that beautiful thing forever. And out
Yeah.
of what happened, with your pops and that dark time for you, it birthed this book. This book is going to change people's lives. I think it's going to change the world. Dana, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much,
Thank
everybody listening. Go follow her and go out there and
you.
buy that book. All
Love you.
right.
Love you, Plasma.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.